And we are live. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90 with a very special episode for you. We're going to be going through some of the transfer rumours, and I know there's been a lot of, and you've probably seen, there's a lot of rubbish on social media at the moment. A lot of people are just anything goes, to be honest. But I think in this case, we've got one. I think that you've been doing a lot of research. And one of your favourite players before the window, you were saying him, Matheus Pereira. So, just first of all, hand over to you. What do you think about this transfer? Because from what it looks like, it's looking like this is something that the club are actually looking at.
Yeah, this seems like a story that's got legs, because you see some stories that like one person's reporting it and stuff, and you're like, is there much in it? But then with this one, there's 3 or 4 people starting to report on it now, and it seems to be picking up some traction. And he's one of these players, I was saying before the transfer window, he'll be looking for that step up from West Brom now, particularly seeing they've got relegated. I think even if they'd stayed in the league, he would have been looking for that next step in his career. Seeing the 2 seasons he's had at West Brom, where he's been by far their best player both seasons. And he's one of those players I think Brendan Rodgers would love, because he's got that versatility, which is something that Brendan Rodgers always likes within a player. And I've said to you before we went live, I've broken this down to like a nerdy level of stats.
Go for it.
When you look at the 32 games that he played for West Brom last year in the Premier League, he played 32 of them as an attacking midfielder, 12 of them as a right midfielder, 4 of them as a left midfielder, 1 as a centre forward, and 3 as a sub. So that just shows that he's capable of playing anywhere across the front 3. My thing is, I think his best position is probably as that number 10, but he's also very capable off the right-hand side as well. So that you could almost have him as the rotation for Maddison, hopefully, as long as Maddison stays, and then also have him as the right winger, because I think he's a player that would elevate us a lot more than if we were to sign the likes of Dan James, who I think is a huge gamble. He could turn out brilliantly, but I'm not convinced he's the right player on the right-hand side who would elevate us. I think Pereira's definitely got that ability to do so.
It's interesting you were saying that as well, the fact that he's on that right-hand side, because, again, that's what Leicester seem, because we can play multiple formations in multiple ways, we will need players that can fit into one or more formations. I can remember Brendan Rodgers saying that last season when they were talking about the specific players they play in a certain position, and they need to be able to adapt their game to play in multiple positions. And from what you're saying, he fits that perfectly.
Yeah, he does. And it's when you look at the positions that he plays as well, it's not as if like with Perez, where you played Perez on the right wing and he just looked completely out of his depth. And to be honest, even at the level, as an attacking midfielder at the level we're pushing now, I don't think he's good enough. But Pereira's numbers don't seem to drop massively, no matter where he's playing. And I'm not one of those players people who just judge a player on goals and assists and stuff. When you actually watch him play, like his ability in tight spaces to be able to find a yard of space, absolutely brilliant. Close ball control, able to beat a man. And we haven't had someone on the right who's been able to do that since Mahrez has left. But the thing is that I'm not going to compare him to Mahrez in the sense that I think Mahrez is like an untouchable figure in terms of ability. But the thing that Brendan Rodgers will love about Pereira that Mahrez didn't have is that work rate off the ball as well. He works incredibly hard, as well as having a lot of natural ability, which is something that Brendan Rodgers you've got to feel would absolutely love.
Yeah, and there's a couple of, and I agree with what you're saying. There's a couple of things as well from what we were hearing from the sources and a couple of rumours that were saying. There's us and West Brom that are looking at getting him. The advantage that we have, obviously, we both got European football. They've got the kind of London little bit, and I think, and obviously from West Brom to Leicester isn't too far a transfer. That's one of the reasons why we got Johnny Evans from West Brom that long time ago. He looks like he's not training at the moment, so he's trying to force a move through, which is again a little bit irritating. However, you're saying.
What I've read on that is that he's gone to pre-season, he's training at pre-season, but doesn't want to be part of the pre-season games. But the thing is, you can read. It wouldn't surprise me if we read something like this saying that he doesn't want to play in the pre-season games, and then next thing we know, West Brom's pre-season games, he's on the team sheet. So take everything like that with a pinch of salt, but at the same time, he will be wanting to progress. After the season that he's had, he will want to stay in the Premier League. And with clubs like West Ham and ourselves, both with European football, who'll be looking at that as a huge step up. And I've seen a fair few people turn their nose up at him because he's been relegated. What I'm going to say is the most expensive defender in the world, Harry Maguire, got relegated and got picked up by us. Andy Robertson, one of the best left backs in the world, got relegated. Gini Wijnaldum, obviously a huge part of an integral part of Liverpool's success, got relegated, and probably currently our best centre back, Johnny Evans, got relegated, just to name a few. So when teams go down, there is still quite a lot of talent within those teams. It's just about picking up the right players. So, I wouldn't be massively concerned at the fact that he got relegated with West Brom because he was head and shoulders level above everyone else in that scene.
I think he was one of their standout players. I remember watching him because his goals kind of came in spouts, but again, that's just the way that West Brom played, and the fact that the way they played wasn't the best kind of football, and didn't serve him in his position the best. I mean, Slaven Bilic nearly got the best out of him, but obviously he left so early as well. Anyway, I was going to jump into the comments and see what you think. Good evening to you, Glenn, or good afternoon over there in Canada. Hope you're well. No problem. If you're ever free to join, let us know. But that's fine, no problem. Hopefully everything is going okay. Cheers, Rich. Hope you're doing well, mate. We've not heard from you in a while, but love to get you on the channel relatively soon, and they'll sign you next. But the contract's waiting. They just drive down to Seagrave, mate. They're waiting to pick you up. Fantastic about that. So thanks for your comments. Glenn puts again, you're having a good transfer window. The only thing is not bleating about the second and third kits not being released. I mean, that's really. I think that'll be done relatively soon. I think we did it. Was it in the second game of the pre-season we announced the maroon kit, and that went on to be a fan favorite, but because of the FA Cup winning. However, that's we could see it being released pretty much soon because it is coming on to towards the end of July now, Anne.
They don't have much more time to leave for it to be released, but what wouldn't surprise me massively is if they try and release it with, say, if we did sign a Pereira or a right winger to try and sort of build more hype around a kit and stuff. They'll be looking for the best time to release it to sell the most kits.
Yeah, I think so too. And what was it called? I've just seen a stat now. Matheus Pereira is linked with the move to Leicester City, and West Brom were looking for a free around £30 million. Now, considering we paid about 40 million for both Daka and Samore, do you think the club will go and splash that kind of money? Because the reason why they're spending money, in my opinion, now is to kind of push to book in advance that top 4 position, then use that champion money to subsidize these players and subsidize the team. Do you think this is the signing that for 30 million? I remember you saying last time, if we get a right winger, this will push us into top 4, even though Daka and Samore are both brilliant signings, and Ryan Bertrand.
The thing is, with 30 million, West Brom, I know they're going to come out saying all the right things of he's not going for the right fee. If he doesn't want to be there and he's not going to be playing to the maximum ability and stuff, and he wants to go, I think there's got to be a point where they do cut sort of knock that fee down. 30 million's a lot, and the thing is, as much as I've said his versatility is brilliant, it's a lot to pay for a player who's not specifically a right winger if you're going to play him on the right wing. And I'm like the leader of the Matheus Pereira fan club, but I still think that is a very, very big fee for him. But that's the thing. That's how negotiations normally go. But they'll put a high fee on to start with, and then it's down to Rudkin and stuff to negotiate it, try and get it slightly lower. But the thing is, West Brom, they'll have their parachute payments for getting relegated, so they're not going to be tight of money. It's just whether they want to be paying Premier League wages to probably this is a presumption, by the way, but I would presume their top earner in the Championship. You can't imagine that they'll be wanting to do that. So, yes, they'll probably want him to stay, but I reckon they're half expecting him to move on anyway.
Yeah, and I think, as you were saying, they'll lower the price after a while as well. Shout out to Akash as well. Thank you, Akash, for jumping on. If you guys want to check out the video we did a fantastic chat with him just yesterday. So you can link in the, or click the channel after this video. Akash was fantastic. But he goes, we had a whole chat about all Leicester City and his experience, everything. Make sure you check that one out. We don't have enough players that can play in 2 positions or more. Pereira ticks both them boxes perfectly. And that's pretty much what you were saying, Ant, as well, that he does tick those boxes and he allows us to play multiple positions, which means if we were to change up formation, we don't have to change him out for a certain player. We can play these people in multiple positions. And I think I've seen as well, he can play on the left, even though we've obviously got Harvey Barnes there. But we've got options with him. And I think, but I think there's more and more players in the squad that can play multiple positions now. However, I think in the past there wasn't necessarily the case. But that's down to Brendan Rodgers, the players he's bringing in, and also his coaching.
Yeah, and the thing is, I do think right wing's the one position where we need to make, like, yes, Pereira coming in is brilliant because he's capable of coming there, but I don't think we should be buying players that are versatile for the sake of buying players that are versatile. And I'm going to get onto someone that I think that's like perfect for later on when we talk about Maddison, one of the players that has been offered to us from Maddison, but we'll get onto that later on. But I do think he ticks the boxes of areas that we need to strengthen.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And just a couple of quotes as well. Good evening, Doug. Make sure you check out the Dugout fan. I know, Ant, you did a video with him recently, didn't you? So you can check out their video together over on Dugout Football channel. Thank you again for last time for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Glad you can make Leicester's Beyond the 90 history with us. Rich is saying also people are probably moaning about how we are announcing. That's a great sign. Yeah, probably. And again, we've had amazing transfer windows so far as well. And not how. That's fine. Yeah. So, but again, we are getting some good players in. However, this could be the player that takes it. And Doug, just with one final comment. There's also talks of Pereira going to Saudi Arabia too. I think that is true, but from what we hear, I think he wants to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, he wants, from everything you see, he wants to stay in the Premier League and wants to take that next step to a club that can compete in Europe, from what you read. But I think if he does go to Saudi Arabia, there's only one thing that's driving that, and that's not his football passion and career. Yeah,
it's the hot weather.
There might be two things that's driving it: the hot weather and something else.
No problem. But yeah, it makes sense. I mean, but I think at 25 years old, he's still got a lot of his career ahead of him. And from what we've seen, he is a player that will want to move on to the next level. And I think we can offer that to him. And we're a very exciting proposition, I think, for a lot of teams. And the reason why we've signed Samore, and I think because we met up yesterday and we were talking. I think you were saying yesterday he's pushing to get into the Brazil squad as well. As in, he's just about to get into the Brazil squad.
I think that was James was saying that, but he's on the verge of he's being monitored or something like that. But I don't know how much there's in that. You'd have to ask James more about that than me, because you saw it during the Euros. Like, my interest in international football is basically on the floor. So I don't know if he is or isn't, but he's definitely a very good technical footballer, which Brendan Rodgers will love. I think he would fit in brilliantly. And I think he's that player that we haven't had since Mahrez, but on that right-hand side, obviously we've got Pereira at right back that can do it in terms of Ricardo Pereira. But a player on that right wing that's really going to get fans off their seat and really excited. And I think he's exactly that. I
think so too. And it will be a good sign. However, if you were to guess, I'd say, what do you think in a ballpark figure that we're going to play? Obviously, they want 30 million. Probably not going to get it. This is going to rattle on for some time from what it seems like, but it's a position we need to fill. Brendan Rodgers is apparently going, right, we do need a right winger, as we were looking at Dan James earlier, but this guy is more versatile and we'll be able to buy him. So some of the things we talked about last time in terms of loaning him, then giving him back to Man United won't be an issue. How much fee do you think we'll get from him altogether? Again, we're just shooting hoops here, and hopefully we can get him for nothing, but what do you think?
I'm going to do what really winds me up that Big Six fans do. Could we send them 15 million and give them Hamza Chowdhury as well, or something like that? Just
don't mention him.
I wouldn't be against trying to see if there's any of the fringe players that they are interested in to try and lower that fee down slightly. But if not, if they're wanting a flat fee, I think in between 20 and 25 million.
I mean, that could seal it, and especially since West Brom are looking to sign a few players as well. I think he fits that mold of a West Brom player, and bearing in mind, I think they've got one advantage that we could give them is on that right-hand side. That position is his as long as he's fit. Obviously, we've got Mark Albrighton, who will come in and do a job. And I think now that we've got Daka in, who's better with his head, we'll be seeing a lot more of his kind of crossing and more goals as well. However, back to that, I think that's one thing we can offer him over a West Ham is the fact that he will start game in, game out
Mm. The thing is, like, if he comes in and does very well, if he comes in and is half consistent, that right wing spot's his. The one thing I do worry about, and I'm happy to admit I was wrong with this, is I thought exactly the same with Matheus Pereira. Oh, it's brilliant. He's versatile. He can play across the front line. He's Premier League proven, and he hasn't been what we hoped he would be. So I do slightly worry with Matheus Pereira in that sense, but at the same time, I do think he's a much better player than what Matheus Pereira was at Newcastle.
Yeah, and yeah, I think you're right. And also on that right hand position, we didn't expect Perez to play there. Well, we did before we really watched him because he was playing in the front three. But also Perez is used as a cam to play alongside. So one of his best positions, in my opinion, has worked when he's played him and Nacho, and he's just feeding Nacho the balls and running around and getting the ball. Anyway, we'll go back into the comments. There's a couple of bits. Evening, Ian. How are you doing? Pereira had a really strong finish with 6 goals and 6 goals in 10 in the last 10 games. And I mean, that was pretty much a West Brom side that was relegated, which is really good. So thanks for that comment as well. 25 million would be a good asking price. I think that's what we were both saying as well. And then final one from Akash. 50 million for Daka and Samori. Said to bring in new right wing and centre back positions. Again, we've talked, the centre back's gone a bit quiet at the moment, but it's right wing we're looking at the moment. Immediate sales are required potentially, but the club maybe are taking a bit of a risk in order to finance the Champions League spots for next year because we were so close last time. Yosi and Pratt are better options probably as a cam, and Mendy and Hamza could be. I mean, Hamza's probably the most likely one to move on at this point in time, isn't it?
Yeah, he had 1 foot out of the door in January, so. Yeah. The thing is, this is the one thing that, like, I'll say our dealings in selling players for big fees has been like incredible over the last couple of years. But something that a lot of top clubs, and you just need to look at Chelsea, what they've done is they get top money for their fringe players as well. And I think that if we can start to do that, maybe get 10, 15 million for Hamza Chowdhury, those kind of things, I think that will help us massively as well. Because when you look, we sold Damari Gray for 3 million. I know his contract situation made that more difficult, but at the same time, we did have offers earlier on him to sell him for 25 million from Bournemouth. So it's like, I think that's one thing that if we can improve on that as well, that'll massively help us out in terms of funding these new players.
Yeah, you're right. And also it's the context as well. I think 25 million, I think we'd lost Mahrez that season and we couldn't afford to let another right winger go. And he did look, there was a chance that with running the team, Damari Gray could do something. I know he's gone to Everton now. Wish him all the best. We know he's not really going to start game in, game out for them, but we'll leave. I think a lot of people complain, but 2 million. I mean, he's come back to the Premier League, probably doubled his wages with what he was on here. So all the best to him. Anyway,
it's worth taking for him, isn't it? For Everton,
yeah, of course, with good money as well. And Liverpool's a nice city, so best of luck to him. Anyway, I will go on to another player that we were going to talk about. You'll probably see him in the thumbnail as well. Maddison. And I don't know if you saw Fabrizio Romano talk today. I saw a clip on Twitter, but he was talking with some of the Arsenal fans. I forgot exactly what channel about. I don't know if you managed to catch that.
Yeah, it's on shout out to it was Lee Judge's podcast.
Was it Lee Judge's? Okay.
But yeah, it's basically what we've known for a while, but it's a difficult deal for Arsenal to do. They'll have to pay a lot of money. It's basically, we're seeing the same story printed in different ways throughout the transfer window, and it seems like it's basically unchanged. If we sell Maddison, it will be on our terms, and it will have to be a large fee with a big upfront instalment from Arsenal. So we're basically as we were in the first day of the transfer window for it, really.
Yeah. So hopefully for everybody that's watching and everybody's listening, we're putting this one to bed. Basically, from what Anne was saying is completely true. We want 65 million up front, and they go, can you do it in installments? We go, cool, give us 65 million up front. And they go, can we do it in installments? So basically, it's not happening. Another piece of news as well, if you've probably seen as well, Smith Rowe has been given the number 10 shirt and signed a long-term deal. I think that from what Romano was saying, without going too much into the Arsenal stuff, Odegaard looks like their main target that they want to go after as well.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say it's not happening because you can never say it's not happening. And I think Arsenal to James Maddison will be an attractive proposition. But you see all of the Arsenal sources in ITK saying that he was offered the number 10 shirt and he signed a deal where he's like guaranteed the number 10 shirt. Well, either they've misreported the fact and got the conditions of the deal that he signed in principle wrong, and that they've got some of the details wrong on that, or it's completely wrong. But I think with Maddison, yeah, he wouldn't be against a move to Arsenal, and I have no doubt about it. But I do think Arsenal will start looking for cheaper alternatives, and then if they still don't manage to get a cheaper alternative, then they'll come back for Maddison. But at the same time, the longer this goes on, I think the more likely he is to stay at Leicester, because they've tried, I think, putting some of their deadwood players on the side to see if we want to take any of them. Obviously, this is what I was referring to for versatility's sake in Ainsley Maitland-Niles. He's a player we don't need. Like, I know we were interested in January, but that was because our midfield was paper thin then. We've invested in bringing in Samore, and then also he can play at right back. Well, we've got Ricardo Pereira at right back, Castagne, James Justin. Like, it's a position that we just don't need. And then Reece Nelson as well. Is he going to be the right winger that really elevates us? Is he any better than Matheus Pereira? I don't really think so.
You see, I just don't know that much about Reece Nelson, but obviously if he was that good, he'd get a start in the team. But yeah. He's not. He's only 20 years old. But when I don't know about you, but every time I see a link to a player in this kind of aspect where, a player is included in this, I kind of shun that, because I don't know if they were ever popular, but I think it's more of a mentally thing. We'll give this to offset this. But from what I can remember, I can't remember the last time that Leicester did a transfer where we've had a player go the other way. I mean, the other time, even in the Premier League, I mean, the last time that happened was Mkhitaryan and Sanchez or something. Again, and recently, obviously, there isn't too many times that actually happens.
No, and the thing is, I don't know how much truth there is in that, but it makes a good story, which is why a lot of them are put out. But
exactly,
because I think the Maitland-Niles thing is just a link from last January. We wanted him on loan in last January because our squad was paper thin. But it's one of those, like, he may well end up going, but if he does go, it'll be on our terms, which I think when you see some of these players that are being thrown in the hat, if Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson can't get a game in over Willian at Arsenal, who has looked the most half-assed player in the Premier League I've seen all season. He looks like I know he turned up against us, but that's like typically like his one good game of the season was against Leicester. But like, Willian does not look bothered at Arsenal, and Reece Nelson can't get a minute in over him. So that says a lot about him.
Yeah, sorry, I thought you had a bit of internet issues there, but yeah, that I totally agree in terms of that, and in terms of the way that we do business. We've set our price. Arsenal don't want to match it. Twitter will try and go and say things, but this is the price. We've set it, and this is the case as well. We'll just go back to some of the comments. Doug, thank you, Doug, for your comment. Not a chance, not a bloody chance. More chance of signing Aaron Ramsdale than James Maddison. Yeah, and apparently they've rejected a £30 million bid or something around there. Bearing in mind they sold. Anyway, I won't go into Arsenal, but they look a bit of a joke at the moment. Thank you, Glenn, for the response. If everybody could like and subscribe, that would be really appreciated. Thank you for doing my job for me. I'm useless at this sometimes. David, thank you for your comment and thank you for tuning in. Tell Arsenal we might as well cash plus give a Saka for the Maddison deal. We want a young right winger in the boot. Perfect. I mean, that would be brilliant. I think you tweeted out something similar to that recently, and but yeah,
I tweet out a lot of crap, so probably at some point.
No problem. Doug puts in, sure, Maitland-Niles will be a good signing, but really poor at West Brom. Yeah, he didn't really have a good time, and I think the issue is, again, as you were saying, Anne, we don't need him in that position. We really don't need a person that was going to come in and get into that position, because, as you were saying, just look at his transfer market where he plays. Centre mid, don't need. As right wing, potentially, but he's not like a creative right winger that we need. It would arguably Pereira would be better in that right wing position. And the right back, again, we've got three of them. And one of them came from the Arsenal Academy in the volunteer Daily Campbell. So it is what it is. And then Ian puts in, thank you for your comment, Ian. If Leicester openly sell Maddison, we will link to a replacement for a Cam. Yeah, and that's the thing. When we normally, if that's the case, I think when we had the Rob Tanner interview, again, link on our channel, fantastic interview. We don't want to plug ourselves too much.
It was for me with plugging stuff.
Oh, mate, I enjoyed that one so much with Rob. Anyway, he was saying they normally scout a position before they sell the player. For example, we bought in Soyuncu, we bought in Benkovic before Maguire left. We bought in, we've got a couple of CDMs. So if Ndidi was to go, then we've got a backup already ready to go. Before Kante left, we bought in Mendy. I know it didn't work. Before Mahrez left, we brought in James Maddison. So we have a knack of doing that.
It's like Chilwell as well, James with James Justin, wasn't it? But they tend to bring them in a season before. So I don't think that in itself means it won't happen, but I think it means that the club are preparing for a season with Maddison. The thing is, I keep saying it, he could end up at Arsenal. I'm not ruling that out of possibilities, but a lot more is starting to signal now that he'll start the season with Leicester.
I think so too, and I'm not sure when the transfer window shuts, but it usually is before the beginning of the season. Now that things are pretty much back to normal in terms of football. Anyway, another thing I wanted to get on as well. Obviously, pre-season's tomorrow, and I don't think we're both not going, are we? Don't expect a lot. Are you going now?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! Well, I'll stay at home and cry then. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get tickets. Yeah. I'll be on here with a white flag. But no, I'll hopefully try to go to a couple more games. But just in your perspective, you're looking forward to it?
I can't wait. I've never been so excited for a first game of pre-season in my life. But the thing is, what I'm expecting is a team first half and then a completely different team second half. And I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm going to take a page out of Neil's book. I'm going to be doing a preview over on my channel for the whole of pre-season later on tonight. So make sure to check that one out while we go into each of the games. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And there's a lot of players who've got a point to prove, whether they stay at the club throughout the season or whether they get loaned out. Or some players may be playing for a move in pre-season and trying to put themselves in the shop window. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm pretty sure there's a trophy on the line tomorrow, isn't there?
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is.
What, the Birds Now Albion trophy?
Let me have a look, because I might
the Bella Luan special with the Caesar kicks. If you've not watched that, that is a calamity of a challenge that he comes in and tries to chop. I forgot what the Burton players was, and the referee just went into him. Get off the pitch, or I'll send you off. And then Craig Shakespeare dragged him. Thank you, Glenn, for the information as well. The transfer window closing at 11 p.m. on Tuesday. So that's pretty good. That's a long time. I thought it was going to be the early October, but yes. And Ben, he's put in here the base charity vase. Is that it?
That's
I don't get it.
Prestigious as the Audi Cup, at least.
If we get that plus the trophy, have we done the double on the season?
Double before the season started.
Exactly. Then we just retire. 3 trophies in a year. That'd be awesome. Yeti boy. Sorry, I forgot to bring your comment up there. But yeah, thank you for your comment. If player wants to go to Arsenal, he can live in London. He might as well join Brentford. I mean, Brentford, I think, have got a good chance of staying up. But anyway, so you're saying
good business, haven't they? They've brought in we were linked to. When we're heavily linked to a player and we don't sign them, and then they move to the Premier League, I'm always interested to see how they get on. And I think he's either going to be one of those players who looks like a massive donkey in a draft on the ball and stuff, the way that he steps forward and stuff, or he might end up looking like Maguire, like really big, imposing, and able to find
good in the air.
Good in the air as well, because he's a big lad. So obviously he's made that step up from Celtic to Brentford, going to a more progressive club in terms of Brentford, who are going to be, I'd imagine, looking to play football the right way if they carry on. Is what they've done from the Championship. So I'm really interested to see how Brentford get on this year. I think they've got quite an exciting project there. Yes,
I think so too. And they kind of are similar to Leicester, where they've sold a few of their better players, reinvested that money in the squad, and then bearing in mind they've had Dean Hammond, the Aston Villa manager. What's his name? I forgot his name now. Dean Smith. I don't know why I had Dean Hammond stuck in my anyway. Another Leicester player. Who's come from there. There's a vast of knowledge of information, and Tony will be, I think, one of the players to look out for Brentford. But I think they've got a similar footprint to Leicester in terms of they sign young players, they build them up, they talent them, they'll sell them on, then reinvest that money in the squad. So I'm really looking forward for them to stay up as well. And finally, before we finish, Ghazal looks like, I think I've read one article just this evening. It looks like he's flip-flopping and he's going back to Besiktas instead of Galatasaray. So that deal is pretty much, it might be coming relatively soon.
He's causing absolute havoc, like the way that he's playing with the two fan bases of, is he going to go to Galatasaray? Is he going to go to Besiktas? It's like flip-flopping in between. Are you going to Rangers after being on loan to Rangers, or are you going to go to Celtic and absolutely cause mayhem? So good luck to him. I think he's found his level in Turkey, so I wish him all the best, and it'll be good to get a transfer fee and get him off for wages.
Yeah, and hopefully reinvest that money back in the squad. Again, it won't be a lot. We'll probably lose some money on it, but again, it's just getting the wages off, considering the players that we've got off the wages over the last couple of years as well. Speaking of that, Ethan put the same thing. Can we get two trophies in pre-season? Exactly. And then we just wrap up the end of the season. Then we're all done. Then we've got true seasons. That would be brilliant. I don't know what this base charity. I still don't know what it is, but we'll take it. I mean, Brendan Rodgers will want a trophy.
It looks like a big trophy. I'm going to try and get the. Hold on.
Sounds good. And one question from Prajwal as well. He actually makes a good point. I wish that we could have signed Jared Bowden 2 years ago from Hull. I don't know if we were talking about this, but in particular, because I don't know if we knew each other a couple of years ago, and I think we knew of each other, but we didn't really know. We weren't talking like directly like we are now. Yeah. But he was one that I was really looking at, like a talent from the Championship that I think it was around January time that we were looking at and going, yeah, this guy could come in and do bits for us. He would have been brilliant, in my opinion, Jared Bowen. And I think for some reason, I remember you saying, yeah, this is the kind of player that we need in our squad to push on to the next level.
Yeah, and Wendell was the one for me, because we had the opportunity to sign him when Norwich got relegated for something like 20 million, 25 million. I think we missed a trick there. But the thing is, there's always going to be players that you missed a trick on. And like, you can't really fault our transfers over the recent years. They've been absolutely brilliant. But there's always those players that's like, oh, what if they'd signed? Because apparently we tried to sign Haaland before he joined Salzburg from Mulder as well. And then obviously you've got the famous Cruyff, like Johan Cruyff story as well. So there's always those few. But hold on, I'm going to try and I've got a picture of the trophy up. But we're
sure, yeah, go for it. Bring it, enlighten us. But while you do that, I'll just read a couple of more comments. So, Yeti Boy, thank you once again for your comment. We win more trophies than preseason than Spurs will win in a decade. We'll have to see about that. Again, they'll say the Audi Cup and stuff like that. I'll just add stuff his into screen. It's on the proper Leicester stuff. God, that's a massive trophy. You can have a bath in that. That's huge.
It's either huge or the photos making it look a lot bigger than it is.
You know what's funny? You know the Ashes. When you make it this it's this teeny tiny trophy. But this looks much better than the Ashes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's quite something. I didn't know they made an announcement on it on Leicester City. Interesting, but hey, hopefully we get Daka into the first team when we gets a hat trick, and then we're able to get him off on the right foot. But for tomorrow, for you looking out for, who will you be looking for in particular? Because I've got a couple of names there's a few names that are ready to prove themselves, in my opinion, or ready to up their levels. Who do you think they are?
There's quite a few players for differing reasons that I'll be looking out for. Obviously, Daka, Samore, Bertrand are the obvious ones, the new signings. I think with Ryan Bertrand, you know what you're going to get a lot more than with Saka and Samore. But I'm looking forward to seeing both of those two, all of those three. Ricardo Pereira, I'm interested to see how sharp he's looking, what his fitness is like. Obviously, it's the first game of pre-season, so you don't expect too much. But I'm hoping that he can really be back to his best. Harvey Barnes, if he's going to be involved or not. Dewsbury Hall's another one. So I know I've basically named half the squad there, but I am really interested, because I think this pre-season for us is going to be huge compared to any over the last couple of years, because we've got so many players coming back from injury. I think pre-season is important to set them off on the right foot in terms of getting back to fitness, that match sharpness. So there's a lot of players that to fully sit on the fence. There's a lot of players that I'll be watching out for tomorrow.
No, you're not sitting on the fence. You're right, and I'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Ndidi is back as well, but to see that midfield, obviously, Ndidi and Tielemans made that amazing, impeccable duo last season. But to see if we can get Dewsbury Hall and Samori on the pitch at the same time, if they could both create that kind of synergy together and both play, I think that would be really interesting. Both, again, would play kind of like that's two central midfielders as well. And they'll go up and down. I think that'll be brilliant. Soa could be another one, I think. Obviously, we're not going to sign a right winger before, I think we would have heard rumours by now, before tomorrow and get them in. But I think Soa on that right could be somebody to look out for as well. I know I'm not expecting him to set the world alight, but he's another one. And also, Vontae Taylor-Gamble. I know people have been looking at him, and Ricardo's obviously coming back to full fitness. Castagne's going to be out for a while for pre-season because of the injury to his eye socket. But I think they were saying 3 centimeters more, and it would have been lost his eye, which is obviously is not a thing you want to hear. So I think he'll have a good performance. I'm hoping that his levels come up as well. I know with the rest of the squad, but still.
He is one of the players that I was mentioning, maybe pushing for a loan. Like if he has a good pre-season, gets a championship line, because I think that'll benefit him a lot more than being the 4th choice right back next year. Going somewhere online. Yeah. Think about it. Ricardo, Castagne, Justin.
Are you casting Justin as right back? I kind of as left. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Again, it's versatile enough. But yeah, I know what you mean.
The thing is, as well, like win, lose, or draw tomorrow, you're not going to get a massive overreaction, I don't think, because it is all about fitness and it's about these players starting to find their feet. I think for pre-season, what you want to see is by the Villarreal game, you want to start to see the players really starting to look sharp and like ready for the season.
Yes, even though that game is only 3 days before the Charity Shield, which is obviously not a good thing. But it is what it is. The brand new pitch is coming. Apparently, we'll probably get into that in another video as well. But one more question before we go. Rubox says, what do you think will be on next player? I predict Yuri Tielemans. I think it could be Yuri Tielemans as well. I mean, the season he's had this season has been amazing. He's obviously off on holiday at the moment. Contract talks are postponed. And, oh, my God, have you just seen this? Oh, my Lord. The man himself. Chester, I'm sorry I've missed your comment, mate. Why can't we get Phil Jones? Ask him yourself, mate. He's in the comments. Ask him once again. Chester's head's exploded right now. And just as you say, I hope Daka starts well as Samore and Bertrand and Dewsbury Hall. Again, that's a lot of players to throw in the deep end all at one time. But I see your point in terms of this is a squad that we could put together and then just but it seems like they're all gelling together. Again, you can only tell by the videos and such, but I'm feeling really hyped and good about this season and this preseason so far. Again, we'll see tomorrow, but it won't be the be all and end all. But I'm feeling really good about everything so far.
It's like you say, you feel really good about it, and all of the stuff the club's putting out is positives. All of the players having a laugh with a smile on their face, but they're hardly going to put out, say, just example, Chowdhury and I don't know, Benkovic had a scrap. They're hardly going to put that out, are they? So you fully expect it from the club, but for it to be fully positive. But it does look like all the players are getting on, and like the interview with Samore where he's saying like how easy he's found it to integrate into like with the players being brilliant with him. Obviously finding it easy with Fafana, obviously one of his friends there, to help him settle in. So it does all sound very positive, but I guess we'll start to see over the next couple of weeks where we're really at. But the thing is, I always say with these pre-season games against Burton and stuff, and teams like Burton, no disrespect to them, you're almost in a no-win situation, because if you beat them 5-0, well, you're expected to beat them 5-0, and if you lose you lose to Burton, then you get turned into a meme. So you're almost into a no-win situation. But I think Brendan Rodgers will be looking at it in terms of fitness, formations, players, and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And in terms of that, and in terms of what we played, with one final comment just to annoy Ant, Brendan Rodgers said we want winning things, so Will Jones ticks that box. Exactly. Won a couple of trophies here and there. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the channel, I really really thank you so much again. And just a plug for your channel, because I know you're doing a pre-match just after this as well, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I'm going live at 9:15 tonight, doing a preview for the whole of pre-season. Well, the pre-season games against Burton, Wickham, and QPR. So, if you want to check that out, make sure to come to see my channel. I've actually been consistent for a whole month as well, so that in itself is an achievement. And so, yeah, make sure to check that out.
It's worth your subscription.
100%. And I'll also be doing match day content around going to Bertrand tomorrow. So, yeah, make sure to check out my channel.
Nice one. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Anne, for joining. Thank you for filling us in about the Pereira information. Thank everybody for subscribing and all that good stuff. We really appreciate it. We're trying to grow the channel, and you've just been brilliant for that. So thank you so much. And we'll see everybody in the next video. So